Colorado prosecutors say 13 members of a violent gang now face over 250 charges. Grand jury indicting the group last month. Investigators say they are part of a criminal street gang that is responsible for 18 shootings, including homicides in Commerce City and Denver, and targeted members of rival gangs. The indictments follow a multi-year investigation by the Regional Anti-Violence Enforcement Network.
Despite its perception, Denver is much more than mountains and snowboarding. Aside from the Broncos and Nuggets, much like Chicago and Philadelphia, there's an underworld that, when uncovered, reveals a shocking amount of violence and bloodshed. In recent years, Denver has become a hotbed for gangs, and this had led to a wave of violence sweeping the city. But one gang in particular took things to a whole other level. The gang 2DS terrorized the streets of Denver, committing over 18 shootings in less than 4 years, victimizing nearly 200 people. In this video, we'll be telling their story. But before we get into the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. 2DS, standing for Too Damn Smooth, is a violent street gang that originated on the west side of Denver, Colorado. 2DS was formed by members of the West 7th Bloods who claimed dominance over the Westwood neighborhood area on the west side of Denver. 2DS and its members gained notoriety and rose to prominence after their involvement in the June 2019 homicide of a rival gang member. The person that 2DS allegedly killed was a member of a rival gang called FBP named Daniel Avila, who was just 17 years old at the time of his death. 2DS members are commonly identified by their red clothing and hand signs representing West Side. 2DS members and associates are prolific with their graffiti efforts, tagging public and private property throughout the west side of Denver. 2DS utilizes the self-identifying graffiti to proclaim dominance over the area. Angel Espinoza, also known as 2DS Taz, Ricardo Corchado, Ali Lozano, and Brandon Santana are believed to be the leaders of 2DS. In March of 2023, a Denver grand jury indicted 13 2DS members on 255 felony counts for alleged crimes involving hundreds of victims after a multi-year investigation by the Regional Anti-Violence Enforcement Network. 2DS is accused of violating Colorado's Organized Crime Control Act, as well as being responsible for 18 shootings, including drive-by shootings that put innocent bystanders at grave risk of death. They were truly ruthless and committed shootings without any regard for who was in the way when they pulled up. 2DS had plenty of beef in the Denver area, but as I alluded to earlier, one of their main beefs was with a rival gang called FBP, standing for Few But Plenty. The leader of FBP was allegedly a man named Philip Baca. On January 22, 2021, Philip's brother, Paul Baca Sr., was shot and killed. On that day, Paul was on West Alameda Avenue at South Raritan Street at around 4:30 p.m. when a dark older model SUV pulled up and someone inside opened fire. Paul was shot multiple times and was taken to the hospital, where he would ultimately be pronounced dead at just 45 years old. Members of 2DS were allegedly responsible for Paul's murder. Unfortunately, 2DS wouldn't stop there, as they would continue to fill the streets of Denver with gunfire, carrying out heinous shootings over and over again. Starting on Halloween of 2021, members of 2DS went on a shooting spree. On October 31, 2021, members of 2DS pulled up to South Winona Court and shot up a garage in an attempt to kill a rival gang member. They fired at least 7 rounds and 2 people were injured. 3 minutes later, they drove to West Exposition Avenue to try and kill another rival gang member. They fired at least 14 rounds into a residence and 4 vehicles. 1 month later, on November 10, 2021, members of 2DS shot up a rival gang member's house that was living on Quitman Street. A little under 3 weeks later, on November 28, 2021, 2DS members Ricardo Corchado and Ismael Rogue allegedly shot up a vehicle containing rival gang members. At least 6 rounds were fired and 1 person was shot in the knee. On January 10, 2022, 2DS members allegedly fired over 30 rounds into the house of a rival gang member living on North Inga Street. After this shooting, they then drove to South 8th Street and allegedly fired up to 48 shots into and around the residence of another rival gang member. Just 6 days later, 2DS members Ricardo Corchado, Angel Espinoza, and Ismael Rogue allegedly shot up a car containing rival gang members. They fired at least 12 shots, and one of the rivals was hit in the hand and knee. 11 days after that, on January 17, 2022, Ricardo, Angel, and another member named Brandon Santana allegedly shot up 2 houses of rival gang members within a 15-minute span. They fired over 30 rounds into each home. They had a habit of committing multiple shootings in the same day, and they would do so once again on February 5, 2022. On that day, they slid to South Xavier Street and fired 21 shots into the home of a rival gang member. 8 minutes later, they went to West Amherst Avenue and fired 42 shots into the home of a rival that lived blocks away. Eventually, after all of these shootings and attempts, 2DS would commit another murder. On February 26, 2022, 4 members of 2DS pulled up near the intersection of 74th Avenue and Oneida Street just after midnight when they confronted a man named Jose Duran Maldonado. One of the men got right up into Jose's face, so Jose threw a punch. The man then proceeded to pull out a gun and shot Jose. Detectives recovered surveillance footage from the crime scene, which showed 4 people in a dark-colored vehicle stopped at the intersection. 3 people, it looks like a woman and 2 men, got out of the car and approached Jose. Then one of them pulled out a gun and shot Jose. As the shooting occurred, a 4th person, believed to be a woman, also got out of the car. All 4 suspects returned to the car and took off. A 2DS member named Ricardo Corchado is believed to be the gunman in this incident. When officers arrived, they found Jose lying dead in the middle of the street and pronounced him dead on the scene. 2DS would allegedly follow this with multiple shootings and another heinous murder. On May 28, 2022, 2DS leaders Angel Espinoza and Ricardo Corchado were riding around in a stolen vehicle in the 3300 block of North Clay Street when they pulled up behind a car that allegedly contained 2 rival gang members. They opened fire on the vehicle, firing over 50 shots into the rival car. Both of the men in the rival car were shot in the head. One of them survived his injuries, but the other, a man named Christian Chirino Salazar, ultimately passed away from his injuries at just the age of 20. Both Angel and Ricardo would eventually be arrested and charged with this murder. Just 1 day after this, on May 29, 2022, members of 2DS once again spotted rival gang members riding in a car and shot the car up. One of the people in the car was shot in the face, but luckily survived his injuries. A little under 3 weeks later, on June 17, 2022, members of 2DS pulled up to an apartment of a rival gang member and shot it up. They fired at the building from several vehicles and allegedly fired over 100 shots. Luckily, no one was killed during this incident. The reign of terror that 2DS was inflicting on the city of Denver would finally come to an end as police started making arrests. By March of 2023, 13 members of 2DS were brought down together on over 200 felony charges. As of the time of making this video, all of them have been sentenced. Due to their murder charges, Ricardo Corchado and Angel Espinoza received the longest prison sentences. Ricardo was sentenced to 44 years in prison, and Angel was sentenced to 95 years in prison. Man, I thought Denver was just a snow town where people went skiing. I never knew all of this was going on. It's sad to see how the gang lifestyle leads to so much destruction in communities. RIP to everyone that passed away in this video. Pray for the city of Denver. Let me know what you guys think about this situation in the comment section, and please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.